You have savings, so why does one random Tuesday still make you feel like you're one auto pay away from broke? Because your savings isn't failing you, it's being used. Used as a shock absorber for a life that's quietly leaking money in 5 places you don't even notice. And no, you're not bad with money. The math is just rigged in a way that nobody says out loud. You can have a decent little pile sitting there. You can be responsible. You can even be the person in your group who never goes overboard. And you'll still feel this low-grade panic like your money is made of paper. Not because you're dramatic, because modern money is built to do this to you. It's not the obvious stuff like gambling or buying a car you can't afford or maxing out credit cards on vacations. It's the respectable stuff, the normal stuff, the stuff that doesn't look like a bad decision. It just quietly steals your breathing room. Auto-pay stacking, renewal creep, payment timing, the convenience tax. That's not an accident. That's the business model. It's Tuesday. Nothing is wrong. No emergency, no crisis. And yet you're staring at your calendar like it's a list of upcoming financial punches. Car needs something soon. A friend's wedding is coming. Your dentist sends that happy little reminder like your mouth is a subscription. Your rent hits, then your insurance hits, then 3 small renewals hit, and suddenly you're doing that thing where you're mentally moving money around like a tired air traffic controller. And you're not even spending recklessly, you're just paying the price of friction. And it's always the same vibe. I have savings, why do I still feel poor? Because savings doesn't automatically create relief. Savings can just become the place where random life expenses go to die. Like, you finally build a cushion. Then life shows up with a few hundred in surprise costs that aren't technically emergencies, but they're unavoidable. And after that, you're back to white-knuckling the rest of the month like you did before you had savings. And that changes everything. So today, we're talking about the 5 hidden money traps that keep you feeling poor even when you're doing the right things. And I'm calling them hidden for a reason. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to look at your own money and say, oh, that's where the pressure is coming from. Not shame, not guilt, clarity. Because once you can name what's squeezing you, you stop trying to fix it with willpower. You stop doing the thing where you blame yourself and then try harder for 2 weeks. You make 1 or 2 changes that actually stick. I'm Ben, quickly, and I'm not here to sell you discipline. I'm here to show you the traps that turn having savings into a monthly stress subscription, and how to flip that so savings finally does its real job. Options, calm, room to breathe. Let's get into the first one. You've been told your whole life that having savings is the finish line. Like, once you've got a little cushion, you're supposed to relax. You're supposed to feel stable. You're supposed to stop doing that mental math in the grocery store where you're like, okay, if I buy this, am I going to regret it on Thursday? But a lot of you are sitting there with savings and still feel broke, still tight, still one annoying surprise away from stress. And the confusing part is you did the responsible thing. You didn't blow it. You didn't gamble it. You didn't buy a sports car. So why does it still feel like you're behind? Because, savings doesn't automatically equal breathing room. Savings is just money with no job title yet. And if you don't assign it the right jobs, modern life assigns it for you. Randomly, aggressively, usually at the worst possible time. Here's what nobody tells you. You can have savings and still be living in what I call the cash flow choke. That's when your monthly life is so tight, bills, timing, little emergencies, convenient spending, that your savings becomes a revolving door. It's not a foundation, it's a patch kit. You pull from it, refill it, pull from it again, and emotionally, it feels like you're running on a treadmill that's slightly too fast. And it's not because you're weak. It's because the world is built to monetize friction. Quick story, because this is where people get gaslit by their own bank. Payday hits Friday. You feel fine. You even tell yourself, okay, this month is different. Then Monday comes. Rent, insurance, 2 subscriptions you forgot existed, a free trial that wasn't free, and the one autopay you did remember hits a day early because processing. Your checking isn't negative, but it's on life support. So, you do the normal thing. You slide money over from savings to cover the gap. No big deal, just a transfer. Except now the week is tight again. So you float groceries on the card just until next paycheck. Then the card bill shows up higher than you expected because of interest or a fee or one extra convenience swipe when you were tired. And suddenly, your savings didn't buy safety. It bought time, like a painkiller, temporary. Late fees, minimum payments, subscriptions that quietly multiply, repairs that show up in clusters, price jumps that hit after you've already committed. The stuff that never feels big enough to call a crisis, but it stacks. So when you say, I have a few thousand saved, why do I still feel poor? The answer is usually because your savings is constantly being used to protect you from small financial collisions instead of buying you actual options. And that's the core idea of this video. We're not doing the usual stop buying lattes nonsense. This isn't about guilt. This is about structure. It's about making sure your savings stops getting quietly siphoned off by hidden money traps that don't look like traps. They look like normal life. That's not an accident. Because once you can name these patterns, you stop blaming yourself for not having enough discipline. You start setting up your money so it stops disappearing in 100 paper cuts, each one costing only a few hundred, which is always only a few hundred until it happens again. So, let's talk about the first trap and the move that turns savings into actual breathing room. Here's the first move that turns savings into actual breathing room. You stop treating your savings account like a trophy, and you give it a job. Because most people have savings, but what they really have is a pile of money that's constantly getting drafted into random emergencies, like it's the National Guard. Car thing, dental thing, phone dies at the worst possible time, friend's wedding you forgot was out of town, the we need it by tomorrow shipping fee. And suddenly, your savings isn't savings anymore. It's just a temporary holding cell for future stress. This is trap number 1, the friction squeeze. And the reason it keeps you feeling poor, even with savings, is simple. You never get to keep the win. Every time you start to feel stable, life shows up with a new little invoice that isn't technically a crisis, but it's enough to hurt. So instead of one big savings bucket, you build a separate account that exists for one reason: absorbing the annoying stuff before it turns into panic. Not investing, not vacation, not someday, just friction. Name it something boring like buffer so you don't get cute with it. Because if you call it Freedom Fund, your brain will start planning a freedom purchase. Your brain is a raccoon. It sees shiny things and forgets winter exists. The goal here is not to hoard money. The goal is to prevent the savings backslide, that emotional whiplash where you finally stack a little momentum and then you get hit with a few hundred in nonsense and you're back to feeling like you're barely holding it together. If trap number 1 is happening to you, here's the fix you can do this week. Open a buffer. Put a small, boring amount in it. And the next time Tuesday tries to jump you, you pay it from the buffer, not from real savings and not from a card. That's it. That one change stops your savings from being the first line of defense. Your main savings becomes the second line, the protected layer, the part that actually gets to grow. And when you do that, something kind of crazy happens. You stop negotiating with yourself every time life gets inconvenient. Because right now, every surprise forces a little internal argument. Do I pull from savings? Do I float it on a card? Do I just hope nothing else happens this month? That argument is expensive, not just financially, mentally. It drains you. And when you're drained, you make worse money decisions. You swipe for convenience. You treat yourself because you're tired. You tell yourself you'll fix it next month. That's how people with savings still feel broke. Recap. Trap number 1 is friction eating your wins. The fix is a buffer that's allowed to get used. Now, trap number 2 is sneakier because it looks like responsibility. Here's the second thing that keeps people feeling poor, even when they technically have savings. Your savings exists, but it's not reachable in your brain, not physically, emotionally, because you've accidentally built 2 piles of money that are at war with each other. The good pile, savings you're proud of, that you don't touch, that proves you're responsible. The real life pile, the checking account that gets punched in the face by bills, groceries, gas, random fees, and whatever problem showed up on Tuesday. And the weird part is, you can have a decent savings balance and still feel broke because your day-to-day pile is constantly on the edge. So you live in this state of fake stability where you keep telling yourself, I'm fine, I have savings, while your checking account is doing parkour just to clear the next automatic payment. This is trap number 2, the 2-pile mirage, because it looks like security from far away, but up close, your life still has no traction. This is why people end up doing the most backwards thing. They protect savings like it's sacred while they use credit for normal life. Not because they're dumb, because psychologically, savings becomes a museum. Do not touch. And checking becomes a battlefield. Hope you survive. And that's when the quiet leak starts. You're not draining savings directly. You're draining it indirectly through stress decisions. You keep a healthy savings number sitting there, but you're constantly paying little penalties in the real world. Convenience spending because you're tired. Overdraftish moments that cost you dignity. Last-minute fixes that always cost more than expected. Interest that shows up like a parking ticket on your progress. It's death by a few hundred here and there. Enough to hurt, never dramatic enough to feel like a real problem. And because it's not dramatic, you don't change anything. You just tolerate it. Here's the brutal, honest line. If your checking is always on the edge, you don't have a savings problem. You have a cash flow design problem. And the fix is not be more disciplined. The fix is to stop pretending your savings is untouchable while your weekly life is unstable. If trap number 2 is you, do this. Pick a minimum checking floor, a number that means my week can breathe. Then keep that floor funded on purpose, like it's a bill. Because savings isn't supposed to impress you, it's supposed to support you. Recap. Trap number 2 is fake stability. Big savings, tiny oxygen. The fix is a real checking floor so your week stops living on a cliff. Now, trap number 3 is where people get stuck for years because it feels like having one account is simple. Here's what nobody tells you about having savings. If your savings account is doing every job, it ends up doing none of them well. It's your emergency fund. It's your vacation fund. It's your I'm going to move soon fund. It's your I should probably invest, but I'm scared fund. It's your my car is making a noise fund. So every time life happens, you don't just spend money, you spend certainty. This is trap number 3, the savings fog. It's not that you don't have money, it's that your money doesn't have roles. So here's the move. Simple, annoyingly effective. You split your savings into 2 speeds. Speed 1, my week cannot collapse. This is your friction money, the stuff that keeps little problems from turning into big problems. The random fees, the unexpected travel, the repair that shows up at the worst time. This fund is allowed to get used. That's literally its purpose. Speed 2. My life is changing. This is the money you don't touch for noise. This is for the big stuff you actually care about. The move, the career pivot, the down payment, the time off, the thing that would change your trajectory. Because when those two live in the same pile, here's what happens. A couple annoying hits, like a few hundred here, a few hundred there, and suddenly the money that was supposed to change your life is now just gone. Not spent, converted into survival. Sound familiar? And you know what makes this brutal? It feels responsible while it's happening. You're like, it's fine, I have savings. And technically you do. But emotionally, you're teaching yourself that every plan you make is temporary. Every goal is negotiable. Every "I'm finally getting ahead" moment can be reset by a random Tuesday. That creates this low-grade panic where you stop making long-term decisions because you don't trust that you'll be able to follow through. So, the action here isn't save more. It's stop forcing one account to be your entire financial personality. Name the accounts like they're employees. Give them one job each. And the second you do that, your savings stops being a number you protect and starts being something that protects you. Recap. Trap number 3 is 1 pile, 10 promises. The fix is 2 speeds, so your future stops getting eaten by your week. Now, trap number 4 is where the system really shows its teeth, because it's not about what you spend. It's about when money leaves. Here's trap number 4. Auto pay stacking and payment timing. This is the part where you can be doing everything right and still feel like you're losing, because your bills aren't spaced based on your life. They're spaced based on what's convenient for the companies charging you. Rent hits when rent hits. Insurance hits when they feel like it. Subscriptions are scattered like landmines. And your paychecks? Those are on your employer's schedule. So what happens is you live in these thin weeks where a bunch of charges cluster together and you spend the rest of the month recovering. And this is why you can have savings and still feel broke. You're constantly bridging timing gaps. Not because you overspent, because the calendar is hostile. If trap number 4 is happening, you'll recognize the pattern. You're fine, then you're not fine, then you're fine again. It's a roller coaster, not a budget. Fix? You build a bills firewall. Not a spreadsheet fantasy, a firewall. You create one place where bill money sits, untouched, and you feed it automatically. Then you pay bills from there, so your checking isn't taking direct hits from 5 different directions like it's in an alley fight. And if you can shift even 1 or 2 due dates so they stop dogpiling the same week, do it. Not because it's optimized, because it stops the panic spikes. Recap. Trap number 4 is timing, not spending. The fix is a bills firewall, so autopays stop ambushing your week. Trap number 5 is the one nobody wants to admit, because it's not a bad habit, it's a stealth upgrade. Here's trap number 5. Lifestyle creep disguised as convenience. It's not the big purchases. It's the permanent monthly obligations you accidentally adopt because they make life easier when you're tired. Delivery becomes normal. Upgraded plans become default. Just this once becomes Tuesday. And subscriptions multiply because every app has a premium tier and they all swear you need it. Individually, none of it feels like a problem. Collectively, it turns your monthly baseline into something your paycheck can barely hold up. And then your savings becomes the stabilizer again. Not because you had a disaster, because your life got quietly more expensive. If trap number 5 is you, here's a clean fix that doesn't require you to become a monk. Any unplanned purchase that's more than a few hundred gets a 2 paycheck delay. Not because you don't deserve nice things, because you're trying to stop your lifestyle from quietly upgrading itself behind your back. And for the smaller stuff, the subscriptions and little upgrades, do one sweep, one time. Put them on a list, cancel the ones you wouldn't rebuy today. Not someday, today. Because renewal creep doesn't care about your intentions. Recap. Trap number 5 is convenience turning into a permanent bill. The fix is a delay rule plus a subscription sweep. Now we know what's happening. Your savings exists, but it keeps getting drafted into jobs it was never hired for. And that's why you feel poor with money in the bank. So here's the practical system. One setup, simple, boring, effective. I call this the money job board because the real problem isn't that you don't have savings. It's that your money doesn't have titles. It's freelance. It's doing everything. And when money does everything, it does nothing well. Step 1. Give your money 3 employees. You're going to create 3 buckets. They can be 3 accounts or 2 accounts plus cash envelopes, or even 3 categories in one bank. I don't care. The structure matters more than the app. Employee number 1, the bills locker. This money is not yours, not emotionally, not spiritually. It exists to pay the boring stuff and keep your life from getting repoed. You fund it first. Automatically. No swiping from it. Ever. Employee number 2, the friction buffer. This is for the annoying stuff that always happens randomly, but somehow happens constantly. Tires, dental, travel you didn't plan, the friend's wedding you forgot about. This is what stops you from raiding savings and then walking around for 2 weeks feeling exposed. Employee number 3, the future stack. This is actual savings, the money that's supposed to buy you time and choices, not, oops, I need to float myself until payday money. If you only do this, you've already neutralized the biggest reason people feel broke with savings. Their savings is mixed into their weekly survival. Step 2. Add a rule that prevents self-sabotage. 1 rule, not 20. 2 paycheck delay for any unplanned purchase over a few hundred. If you still want it after 2 paychecks, fine. At least now it's a decision, not a dopamine reflex. Step 3. A weekly reset that takes 15 minutes. Same day, same time. Quick scan. What bills hit before the next paycheck? Is the bills locker fully loaded? Did the friction buffer take a hit? Is the future stack untouched? You're not doing accounting, you're restoring control. And here's the hard truth most people won't do. If you keep one big savings pile and tell yourself you'll just be careful, you will eventually spend it. Not because you're dumb, because you're tired, because life is loud, because your money has no job titles. This system doesn't make you perfect. It makes you harder to knock over. So here's the close, and it's the part people try to skip because it sounds too simple. The reason you can have savings and still feel poor is because your savings is being forced to do jobs it was never meant to do. It's trying to be your emergency plan, your bill paying plan, your stress management plan, your identity plan, your I deserve this plan, your I'll figure it out later plan. One pile, 100 responsibilities. And when one annoying thing happens, car, health, family, work, your savings doesn't just go down. Your confidence goes down with it. Because now you're back in that headspace where every decision feels expensive. That's why the 5 traps matter. Friction squeeze. Stop bleeding wins. Build the buffer. 2 pile mirage. Stop living broke in the next 7 days. Set a checking floor. Savings fog. Stop making one number do 10 jobs. Split the speeds. Autopay stacking. Stop letting timing ambush you. Build the bills firewall. Convenience creep. Stop adopting permanent bills. Delay the upgrades. If you try to do all of it today, you won't do any of it next week. So start with one. The one that would remove the most pressure from your life by next month. Even if it's only a few hundred set aside in the right place with the right job title. Because the simple truth is this: you can either keep a savings account that looks responsible, or you can build a life that feels safe. You have savings, so why does one random Tuesday